Good morning and welcome. I invite you to turn to number 391 in the gray hymnal, Voice Still and Small, and would you rise in body or spirit as we join together in singing? Number 391. Still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing.
Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. Whether you are here with us in person in the sanctuary, live streaming from home, or watching on demand at a later time, may this greeting draw you into our circle of belonging. I am Barbara Lynn, a member of the Lay Worship Leaders Program. And leading our service today are Stella Anderson, our Director of Spiritual Growth and Development, Carter Smith, our Acting Director of Music Ministries, the Reverend Theresa Rohlck, our Minister of Pastoral Care, Allison Halerz, our Pianist-in-Residence, Mike Halerz, our Technology Consultant, and my colleague from the Lay Worship Leaders Program, Unitarian Universalist Seminarian, Eli Kranz. If you are a newcomer among us, I thank you for your presence and extend an especially warm greeting, along with an invitation to our newcomer welcome, held in the Redmond Room directly after the service. As you leave the sanctuary, the Redmond Room is to your left as you pass the social hall and enter the corridor. There you will find friendly volunteers eager to enter into dialogue with you about our faith and this community. You can also learn more about us on our website at UUAA.org, and, should you wish, you can fill out the newcomer survey to be found there. And please, if you are a newcomer live streaming with us, we invite you now to introduce yourself in the chat so other live streamers from our community can greet you. Welcome, one and all. I have long held in my mind the image of our congregation as a sanctuary to which we pilgrims journey for safety, comfort, and to be among our kindred. I know this is not the Middle Ages, nor are we characters out of Chaucer, yet the image stays with me. Indeed, it has only intensified in recent years as the world has fallen prey to a host of ills so widespread and so dangerous that they have become the markers of our age. Beset by toxic threats at every turn, we struggle to find a path through fear and helplessness toward hope and action. This morning, in the safety of this sacred space, we will explore together how we might find rays of hope and possibility in the concrete, tangible actions that we can undertake individually and together as in community. Let us now enter a place of centering and grounding as we move more deeply into our time together. Come, move into this circle, the circle of community, as it widens to include you. We are gathered for worship.
Good morning. One way we mark the beginning of our time together each week is by lighting our chalice. Our chalice is a reminder of our connections to one another in this community and our connections to the broader community of Unitarian Universalists across the globe. We light our chalice each week to remind us of the spark of hope, of love, and of possibility that resides within each of our hearts. This morning, I'm happy to invite Eli Kranz to light our chalice. And for those joining us on live stream this morning or at a later time, I invite you to take this moment to grab your chalice or a candle and light it along with us gathered here. And then please feel free to add a message in the live chat saying, "The chalice is lit," wherever you may be joining us from this morning. Would you please join with me as we say, "We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace." Thank you. Another way we begin our time each week is by reciting our covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we are not bound by one single creed or belief. Instead, we are bound by the promises that we make about how we want to be in relationship with one another. The spirit of these promises are captured in our community's covenant. Let us join together in speaking the words of our covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you.
Good morning. It's hard enough as an adult to believe that we have the power to make real change. The challenges we face are vast and deep-rooted, and they loom so large. The dark shadows of poverty, war, oppression, climate destruction, and on and on. We sometimes wonder in despair if it's worth the colossal effort, especially when the forces of opposition are heavily armed and ruthless in their quest to maintain the imbalance of power and wealth. I think everyone in this room and watching from home has felt overwhelmed by the monumental tasks before us. Well, imagine how it feels to be a kid in this world. How do we help them feel empowered to make a difference? What can they teach us about making change? I like to turn to the wisdom of a young girl named Mary, who's about to show us that little acts of kindness can make a big impact. Our Time for All Ages this morning celebrates the power of love to change the world one person at a time. Ordinary Mary's Extraordinary Deed by Emily Pearson, illustrations by Fumi Kosaka. Ordinary Mary was so very ordinary that you'd never guess she could change the world. this ordinary kid, she did. She changed the world. One ordinary day, skipping on her way from her ordinary school to her ordinary house, she passed an ordinary vacant lot filled with ordinary bushes growing ordinary berries. Ordinary blue and juicy, luscious, lovely berries. Well, Ordinary Mary picked the ordinary berries and brought them in a big brown bowl to Mrs. Bishop's porch. What? Left berries in a big brown bowl on Mrs. Bishop's porch? That sneaky kid, she did. This made Mrs. Bishop very, very happy. So she baked a big batch of blueberry muffins and thought of 5 people who might have brought those beautiful berries, then secretly gave each a plate. How great! 5 people got a plate! One of those 5 was her paperboy, Billy Parker. And when Billy saw his name on a note in the driveway on a plate, he quickly parked his bike and ate every crumb. Oh, yum, 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 he ate every crumb. This made him so glad that the next 5 people got their papers on the porch and not in the bushes where he often threw them. In fact, they were handed right to them. One of those 5 was Mr. Morey, who was so amazed that he smiled for 10 hours on the airplane, then said to 5 different people who had heavy bags, "Here, let me help you." He still smiled, and they did too. One of those 5 was Mario, whose cranky little boy James stopped crying when Mr. Morey played peekaboo with him until their ride came. When he waved goodbye, Mario exclaimed, "How strange that a stranger would be so kind." And the next day when he was out shopping, once, twice, 5 times, he did something nice for 5 different people, 5 times without stopping. One of those 5 was Joseph, old and bent and gray, in front of him in line at the produce stand. When he said, "I guess I counted wrong, I don't really need these oranges," little James reached out to him with an orange from their basket, and Mario put a coin in Joseph's hand and said, "Here, take this. The oranges are on us." As Joseph shuffled to the bus, his heart was full and his eyes were wet, and his hands did helpful things for the next 5 people he met. One of those 5 was Sahar, a college girl who was off to see the world and stopped at Joseph's shop. When her bag broke and her things fell all over the floor, she said, "Oh, what will I do?" Joseph said, "This is for you," and he gave her a new bag woven with his own hands in red and purple and green. "Oh, thank you," she said. "It's the loveliest bag I've ever seen." When Sahar left, she felt sunny as noon, and she just had to shine on 5 people soon. One of those 5 was Sophia, whom she met on a boat, looking like the world might end, looking like someone without a friend. "What beautiful blue eyes you have," Sahar said, "and they're just the color of the flowers in your lovely dress." "Yes?" said Sophia. "Oh, yes," said Sahar. The beautiful blue eyes shed a happy tear, and when the boat trip was through, Sophia called 5 people to make them happy too. One of those 5 was Tom, her son, the doctor, who was having a very hard day. "Hi," she said. "I love you, Tom." "Well, how great to hear your voice," he sighed. "I always need my mom." Dr. Tom was so cheered up that on his next break, he bought a big bunch of bright balloons for 5 young patients, and he handed them out right then and there. One of those 5 was Peter, a little boy who went home from the hospital that very day. Gratitude for the big bunch of bright balloons filled him and thrilled him and spilled out of him and onto the next 5 people who came his way. One of those 5 was Eric, a teenage boy whose sacks and such were way too much. When one dropped on the sidewalk, Peter stopped his play and rushed right over, saying, "Super Wheels to the rescue!" Well, Eric, no longer stressed, was very impressed and made a mental note that very afternoon to help 5 people and do it soon. One of those 5 was Di, his 10-year-old sister who didn't have many friends and was painfully shy. When Eric said, "Hey sis, want to come to the park and learn how to ride my skateboard?" she looked at him wide-eyed. "Serious?" she cried. "Sure," he said. And because of her brother, Di decided maybe she could be a friend to 5 others. One of those 5 was Louise, a homeless woman who lived under the trees. She could hardly believe her ears when she heard Di say, "May my brother and I buy you a hot dog and a drink at that stand over there?" Could it be true? Someone actually cared enough to give her food and a smiley-faced ring that was practically new? Louise was so pleased that she decided that even though she had nothing, she would find 5 others and give them something. One of those 5 was Amara, who lost her wallet in the park. Louise found it full of 5s and 10s and 20s. Oh, what she could do with all that money. But she found Amara's name and called her home, and over she came. Amara was so impressed that Louise was honest when money was something she clearly needed, that she offered her a job in her store and vowed to do something generous for 5 people or more. One of those 5 was Kate, a woman on vacation who wanted to see a show she'd heard was a sensation. "Oh no," she said, "it's sold out, but I'm going home tomorrow," and her face filled with sorrow. Amara held out her ticket. "I live here," she said. "I can go anytime. Take mine." Kate loved the show and was so touched that she thought buying 5 presents for 5 people back home would really be fun. And one of those 5 presents was a little heart necklace for Mary, her niece, and you should have seen her eyes light up in surprise. Mary? What? Ordinary Mary? Yes, Ordinary Mary's extraordinary deed had come full circle, and on its way, it had changed the lives of every person living. You see, when Mrs. Bishop made muffins from Mary's blueberries, not only the paper boy Billy Parker, but the other 4 people too made 5 people smile, and those 5 did too. And after a while, in only 16 days, love was sent to every person everywhere. Just see how it went. 1, 5, 25, 125, 625, 3,125, 15,625, 78,125, 390,625, 1,953,125, 9,765,625, 48,828,125, 244,140,625, 1,220,703,125, 6,103,515,625, 30,517,578,125. Whew! Well, 30 billion is way more than all the people on the planet. So after everyone had a share and everybody knew that somebody cared, there was even love left over. The world was changed, and thousands and millions and billions agreed it was all because one ordinary day, Ordinary Mary did a perfectly ordinary, stunningly earth-shaking, totally extraordinary deed. The end. Now is the time in our service when we sing our children to their programs. I'd like to invite all of our young people, the K through 5th graders, to follow me out of the sanctuary for our music and worship children's chapel as the congregation sings with love and tenderness. Hello.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. divine.
This is the time in our service when we pause to consider what this community means to us and how we can sustain what the community holds dear, its values and vision, its love and care that extends to so many, especially during times of great change and transition. There are many ways to sustain this community, but I will mention two. One is giving of your time as a volunteer to keep our programming running. Volunteering can be just a very tiny commitment. Like Ordinary Mary, think about how you're contributing one small thing to this community will have an impact that goes beyond what you can imagine. But let's try to imagine right now what that impact might be. How does volunteering to vacuum the hallways of the sanctuary impact this community? Or knitting a comfort shawl, editing a newsletter, stuffing envelopes, running a camera, teaching a class, preparing for Friday Fun Night, or being the live stream host, making coffee. Imagine the impact of each of those little things. So volunteering is one way to sustain the community, but giving financially is another. And if you are new to us or just visiting, please know that your gift to us is your presence. But if you are invested in this community as a spiritual home, and you are invested in the justice work that UUAA is committed to, and you have the means, then I invite you to imagine how your financial gift of any size will also impact the ministries and programs of this congregation. Your financial gift is a tangible action that gives us hope. You may give online at uuaa.org/giving. You can text UUAA to 73256. Or if you are here in the sanctuary, you may put cash or checks in the baskets. I invite the ushers to come forward now, and today's offering will gratefully be given and received.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
Thank you for that beautiful gift. And may you all really hear those words. You will never walk alone. You're part of this community. Thank you. I invite the ushers to come forward. And as they do, would you rise in body or in spirit, and with a glad heart and gratitude for the privileges we enjoy as a community, join me in dedicating our offering. There they are. Let us say together, to the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. You may have a seat. Our reading today is from Mental Fight, an epic poem by Ben Okri, a Nigerian-British poet, novelist, and Booker Prize winner. I invite you to settle into a comfortable position, whatever that means for you, to ready yourself to hear Okri's words. We'll take a few breaths together to center and to quiet all the thoughts that are spinning through our minds right now. And after the reading, we'll hold a few moments of silence. You will then hear music for the hymn Meditation on Breathing, number 1009 in the Teal hymnal. You'll hear the music to bring us out of the silence, and we'll remain seated in a spirit of stillness as we sing together. So let's take a few breaths together now. Our reading, Mental Fight, by Ben Okri. What will we choose? Will we allow ourselves to descend into universal chaos and darkness? A world without hope, without wholeness, without moorings, without light, without possibility for mental fight? A world breeding mass murderers, energy vampires, serial killers, with minds pining in anomie and amorality, with murder, rape, genocide as normality? Or will we allow ourselves merely to drift into an era of more of the same, an era drained of significance, without shame, without wonder or excitement, just the same low-grade entertainment, an era boring and predictable, flat, stale, weary, and unprofitable, in which we drift along, too bored and too passive to care about what strange realities rear their heads in our days and nights, till we awake too late to the death of our rights. too late to do anything, too late for thinking about what we have allowed to take over our lives while we cruised along in casual flight, mildly indifferent to storm or sunlight. Or might we choose to make this time a waking up event, a moment of world empowerment, to pledge in private to be more aware, more playful, more tolerant, and more fair, more responsible, more wild, more loving, awake to our unsuspected powers, more amazing. We rise or fall by the choice we make. It all depends on the road we take, and the choice and the road each depend on the light that we have, the light we bend, on the light we use or refuse, on the lies we live by and from which we die.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming in the snow. I've always been fascinated with those really northern cities, the ones that during the winter will have maybe 2 hours of daylight or no daylight at all for a certain part of the year, up at the top of human civilization, in the snow and the cold, and then on top of that, the sun just goes away. I don't know if any of you do this, but whenever I hear about a new place, I analyze to see if I could live there. If I'm as tough or as resourceful as the people that make it their home, could I live through months of darkness and cold, not seeing the sun? Well, I make it through February in Michigan every year, so why not? This year will be my 35th February. I'm a June baby. My first experience in life was the joys of summer. Winter has always had a certain foreboding after the glitz and the glamour of the holidays fade away. It is a liminal season, one we must pass through on our way to spring. Every year, another February. Recently, February has started to feel different. It's begun to morph and change, and not exactly in a good way. February 2nd, 2020. I am looking around my new apartment. Everything is in boxes. I've just moved in. Despite that Friday, to start the weekend, I started it with kidney stones. I was determined to move that weekend. I had to move. For the year and a half before this date, I was living with my ex-partner after we broke up. I had nowhere to go at the time, and after nearly a decade together, I had this somewhat harebrained idea rooted in the routine and the familiarity of the relationship that we could be roommates, that I'd stick around and I'd learn to live with them and the person they left me for. So when I tell you that I had to move, that it didn't matter that me and my 65-pound dog were going to learn to live in 600 square feet of uneven floor apartment, I want you to understand, perhaps to imagine how I felt that day. February 2nd, 2020. And perhaps you can imagine how I felt on February 29th, 2020. All that promise, all that hope of building myself and my life back up seemed just gone. Before, I resigned myself to February because there was the promise of spring on the other side. Not just the physical spring with the sun returning, flowers blooming, and birdsong, but there was the spring of the soul, the way that you feel that day when you can first feel the warmth back on the breeze and you can smell the earth. A weight lifts from your shoulders and there's a lightness of spirit. That's changed. In 2020, as the pandemic began, they took away our spring. This thing, made of a virus mixed with human irresponsibility and malice, took away that promise from every single one of us. Not a single person has made it through this without being touched. And it's not only a grief, but it's a magnifying glass to all of our other griefs. Now I have to get through February with this stone around my neck and no relief in sight. I was grieving that February in 2020 and dealing with a new feeling of anger. I'd never allowed myself anger before, and now I had an abundance of it. All of that on top of this new thing. Sit for just a moment with me in that. Sit with me, your neighbor, us, in that feeling. Let's wait a moment. If February is good for anything, it is good for waiting, isn't it? It can be uncomfortable, this stillness that hides nothing. It exposes. And I don't want this stillness to hide it. I want to see my grief, and I want to see yours. Anger, frustration, a roiling chain reaction of emotions that feels like a frantic spark in this dark night of a soul. Does anyone know where that term comes from? I'll tell you. It comes from a poem written in Spain in the 1500s, written by a man who took the name John of the Cross when he joined the Carmelite order. He was a priest, a poet, a mystic. St. John of the Cross wrote in Dark Night of the Soul, "In the happy night, in secret, when no one saw me nor I beheld aught, without light or guide, saved which burned within my heart. This light guided me more surely than the light of noonday." The mystics have always spoken to me, even as I've wandered away from the Catholic faith. Their ecstatic love of what they called God, causing them to swell and spill out poetry, music, and writings. St. John was a mystic, a monk, an ecstatic, a man blinded by the love of a God he believed in. Of course he wrote about light and sacred flames. But everyone believes in St. John's God. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. Emily Dickinson, a poet. But of course a poet can wax on about hope and despair in equal measure. Not everyone is a poet. Pema Chodron, a Buddhist teacher, from her work, When Things Fall Apart. Things falling apart is a kind of testing and also a kind of healing. We think that the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. And they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Mystics, poets, teachers, leaders, thinkers have been talking about the darkest nights of our souls for centuries, since the dawn of human thought. And there's a common theme. No matter if you are a mystic who believes in a God, a poet who believes in pain, or a teacher who believes in Tibetan Buddhism, even from these very different people, when things crumble, when the dust settles, that's when the light comes in. That's when we find that spark. And it doesn't belong to a singular faith or belief or tradition or person. What if we let that spark become a flame? There's a pressure to turn away from all of this, the sparks and the crackles of complex sadness, anger, and grief. They're too messy. Why don't we all just move on? I can't. And we shouldn't. A light is a light. When we are lost in the darkness, we cannot just turn on some floodlights and blindly stumble forward. But we can move forward using our lights, this light which burns in our hearts more surely than the noonday, the spark that is fed when we make room for grief, for relief, misery, and pain. Outside of this congregation, I am in learning and development for a tech and automotive company in the area, and I train incoming hires. I spend 4 weeks with these people. By week 5, I'm ready for them to move on to the next phase of their position. Sometimes in these classes of about 30, 35 people, a new hire will require more attention. This last class, I wrapped that up right before the holidays, had one, let's call her Jane for privacy. She was an older woman, hired for her bubbly personality and German language skills. German is her first language. From day one, she needed just a bit more support when it came to all the techie stuff, our computers, our troubleshooting, our programs that we use. I had to constantly check in with her, constantly answer questions. Week 5 comes around, and I'm looking forward to not answering thousands of questions from the class, and so many of them from Jane. Over the weekend, I get a message from her on our work chat channel, and I don't read it. I make it a point not to read it. I am too tired, too worn thin, and I'm so over it. Monday, I log in and I read her message. It was very long. She had had an unpleasant encounter with a new peer, a friendly conversation, and he was very rude to her. And those who had witnessed the interaction, other peers had gotten a leader involved because of that interaction. What she was worried about was her position. She was worried she was going to get fired. And she was already thriving, and it was just a terrible moment at the end of what otherwise was a glorious week for her. I had forgotten my light, and more importantly, I had forgotten hers. As soon as I could, I checked in with her, and we talked. She cried, and we discussed a solution. I did all I could as her trusted person at this big company, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I hadn't done enough. She said I did, but I just didn't feel it. But then the next day, waiting for me where I usually set up my computer, was a half loaf of homemade sourdough bread as thanks for helping. So that night, I went home and I made soup to enjoy that bread. And then I brought Jane a bowl of that soup. Didn't feel right until I had done that. In the dark, if I just look at my flame, I won't move. But if I look around and see all of yours, if I see Jane's, then I can begin to figure a way forward. We've been sold the lie of individualism, bootstraps. You can't love yourself until you can't be loved until you love yourself. All that. It's everywhere. That's not how we move through this. The only way to keep moving forward is with our communities, the strength we all bring collectively, seeking those who share our light, and then seeking further to those who are still lost. I want to take a moment this morning to put this into practice. So what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to pause here for a moment, and I would like you to turn to someone whom ideally you don't know, but at least someone you didn't come here with. And I want to invite those attending our live stream, I want to invite you to share your response in the chat to this as well. What is one concrete, tangible action that you can take in the week ahead to help someone else's flame burn brighter? So you're going to think of that action, you're going to share it with the person. It's going to just 5 minutes. I don't think quick. The first thing that pops to your head, right? We're going to take 5 minutes to do this, and then I'll call you back into our time together. So please, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Wrap up conversations. Come back to our time together. Thank you all so much for participating in that. It's very important to remember to look up. And as we look up and outward, we cannot neglect the inward. I know caring for ourselves can feel anything but small, but back in 2020, I took a small, real, tangible step to change my life out of care for myself. You might think, well, moving to a new place isn't small, but as I was looking at the entire rest of my life, it felt small. So I packed a box, then another box, without knowing what would come next. These small steps are what help us move forward, individually and as people. If you try to peer beyond the dark into the deepness of the unknown and figure out everything that is needed, it's going to be overwhelming. The progress we yearn for individually and as a people often occurs one concrete action at a time. Seek out things that are as tangible as that flame. Talk to a neighbor. Reach out to those who cannot gather with us safely and let them know they are not forgotten. Ask yourself what you need right now. Pack that box, make that phone call, take a hot shower, brush your teeth. Help a coworker through that tough moment, and when she gives you half a loaf of sourdough as thanks, go home and make soup. Together, that's how we will get our spring season back. The flourishing and blooming that our souls long for. The spring in our steps. Beloveds, the future has hope because we will make it hopeful. Mending the world by looking to our right, to our left, and in the mirror, and asking, what can I tangibly do to help tend your flame?
I invite you to rise in body or spirit, in the spirit of action, in the spirit of small steps, as we join together in singing number 347, Gather the Spirit. Number 347. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sin. summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Precious friends, as we enter into the February season, look around and see the faces of our beloved community. Each of our flames burns bright and strong, and together we can do anything. Look around you and know you are not alone, that we share your love, your grief, and your light. Go in peace and find those moments to do that small thing. May it be so, and amen.